You've heard me talk about follow-up once or twice before, and it's something that I feel that many sales professionals get wrong. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why you should do it, give you some ideas on how you should do it, and obviously we're going to have some data to back this up. You're going to love it. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have the one and only Guy. Is a good friend of mine. He's down here in South Florida as well, but he is in an industry where they have a lot of reoccurring business. The challenge that he finds oftentimes is that salespeople make a mistake when it comes towards following up. In this episode, we're going to talk specifically about following up. No matter if you're out hunting new business every single time or if you're out doing reoccurring business, follow-up is critical. But don't just email your prospect and say follow up, just following up. You got to give them some kind of value. And you got to make sure you get past your own head trash that you think sometimes that the buyer don't want to hear from you. Oftentimes, they really do. Listen to how we break it up in this episode and why it's so important for you to do follow-up. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, please subscribe. We'll notify you every time we have a new piece of content that can help you to be able to improve your sales skills, build top of funnel, and make more money on the back end. As we dive in, you get a chance to learn about Guy and some of the cool things that he's doing, his experience working in Latin America, and also his experience with following up. Check it out. Guy, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Donald? Good to see you.
Man, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to chat with you and get some insights from you about this episode, about this topic. Follow-up is something that we know make us money. Unfortunately, many salespeople do not follow up, much less follow up effectively. So I want to learn some of your strategies and ideas that can make sure we can do this in a more effective manner. Before we dive into that, tell us a little bit more about what you do. I know you teach a lot of people.
Of course.
To improve
I'm the director of Latin America for HARDI, and that is basically an organization that groups together the distributors and manufacturers of HVAC equipment all through North America, Central America, and a couple of countries already in South America, and hopefully next year we'll reach all the way through the bottom of South America. And a lot of our members are in recurrent sales, so they don't need to be looking for a new customer every time. They just need to keep doing business with the same customers. Now, the contractor, now that's a different animal because he needs to look for a new customer every time he installs a new air conditioner. He needs to find somebody else because that air conditioner is going to be running for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. It ain't going to break down that easy.
No, it's not. It's not. So going back to your main question about follow-up. So everybody thinks that it's important, but the first thing we need to think about is why don't more people do it? So I went out and I asked a lot of my alumni, why is it that you don't like to follow up? And they say, well, they ask me for a quote. I give them a quote. If they like it, they'll call me back. That is the number one answer I get from most salespeople. If the customer was really interested, he would call me back. But statistics don't back that up. So what do we find is that 44% of the salespeople do one follow-up. One. That means 56% do zero. None. No follow-up whatsoever. So that is exactly why we need to revise the other statistic that I'm going to give you. 88% of business is closed with 5 follow-ups. 5. Imagine that.
So you're telling me only 44% do the one follow-up. How many, do you have an idea of how many do more than one? I imagine that number may be really small.
Right. So obviously, now you have the 56 that never do. Mm-hmm. And out of the 44, yes, there is probably 20% out of that 44 that keep following up. I haven't seen many that do 5, which is the number that we should have in our heads. 5 is what we need to get to at least 88% of sales closed. And my objective is to get some type of an answer. It doesn't have to be a yes close. it could be a no close, but at least I know that the customer, for whatever reason, said no to my quotation. Because I define sales as getting information. In reality, we don't sell anything. We just make things easy for our customers to buy from us. So if we get information, now we understand what is it that they don't like and what is it that we can change, because nobody likes to be sold, but we all love to buy.
So why do you think it takes 5 follow-up to get that sale, like in particular in industry?
In those that do follow up, when I ask them, so what happens on the second, third, or fourth follow-up that you do? Imagine a contractor that is installing air conditioning, right? So when they call them back and they say, hey, what's going on with that quote that I sent you last week? They say, oh my God, thank you for reminding me. I had so many things on my head. Give me a second. Let me call my customer to see what he decided so I can call you back. So thank you for reminding me. So a lot of the times our customers are really busy. They're doing 1,000 things. So we're actually helping them by following up so we can be top of mind into something that they're forgetting because they have so many things on their books as well. Does that make sense?
Why? It sure does. And so, I can get that the prospect may be busy, may have other things going on. Why do you feel that the seller is not doing that? You mentioned because they feel like if the buyer's interested, they're going to call me. Like that becomes this.
Their excuse.
How did they get conditioned to do that? Or like you're saying, maybe it is an excuse because they don't want to do the work. Do they have so many other
reality, nobody
deals
conditioned them. It's something that they programmed themselves. And the second thing is sometimes we have too many accounts per one salespeople. So this is a big problem because they're actually thinking that selling is quoting. I'm going to repeat that. A lot of salespeople think selling is quoting. So they send a bunch of quotes and the manager says, hey, I see that you're really busy. What's going on? Hey, I don't have the time to tell you much. I need to do all these quotes and get them out of the door. So they're thinking that they're sending quotes and that's really their job. And they're not realizing that once you send 5 quotes to a customer, you need to start thinking back because the normal closing ratio is about 20 to 30%. So if you sent already 5 quotes to a customer and they've never bought from you, should you stop them in their tracks when they request a quote the next time? Because actually you're just working thinking that you're doing something for them. But this is the kind of the kind of customer that's just shopping around. They're not really looking to buy from you. So you need to stop them in their tracks and you need to reduce the amount of customers. My definition of customer is someone who at least has paid you $1 in the last 12 months. If they haven't paid you at least $1 in the last 12 months, they haven't bought in the last 5 quotes that you've sent them in a recurrent sale business, right?
Yeah.
Then you need to forget about it. Now, when you're talking about a sale that is one in every 10 years, like software, for example, then you can't think the same way. You need to send a quote and they have to decide whether they want to buy the software or not. It's not recurrent. So you need to follow up to determine, did the people that said that they were going to meet, got to make the decision? Did they really understand what you were quoting? And that's going to definitely take 5 follow-ups. But before you finish sending that quote, you need to ask, when do you think you're going to have a decision? By XYZ date. Okay, great. So can I call you the day after in the morning or the evening? And then they're going to say, but now you have their permission to follow up. And you do the same thing in recurrent business or in once every 5 or 10 years business. But you need to have that date from the customer in order for you to follow up so you have their permission. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And so let's go back in a couple pieces here that I wrote down. One, it sounds like in some of these, it sounds like it's in 2 cases here. The management may be in some organization may be celebrating this type of behavior, by telling the seller, you need to put out a lot of quotes, because if you put out a lot of quotes, then opportunities will come. And I get that. More opportunities out there, the more chances you have. My soccer coach used to always say, more shots on goal, the more chance you have of scoring. But he made that preface. He didn't say more shots increases your chance of scoring. More shots on goal increases your chance of scoring. And I think that's where we find, because even in other sales, like when you're doing B2B cold outreach, sometimes you find these organizations that says, man, look at Guy, he's like doing 100 cold calls. Like, yeah, fantastic. You can do 100 cold calls, but is he getting in contact with anyone? Does he have the right messaging that he's sharing with them?
Is he on target?
Can lie. Yeah.
Is he on target? Is he calling the right person?
Exactly. So it's like, for years, I think it's, especially in a reoccurring sales situation, going back to this, yes, maybe 20 to 30% of those are converting, but can that be a lot better? Could it be up to 50%?
Absolutely.
And it probably could be 40 to 50% if they're going back in and saying some of these things here, where you're not a glorified order taker, where you're asking some of those questions. And I can tell you that I've been in those situations where I felt like I didn't want to mess up my chances of getting the deal, so I didn't want to rock the boat too much. You ask for a quote, let me give you a quote. Don't ask when you're going to follow up. Don't ask this. Just all it is at this point, the buyer's just looking at the prices, like you're saying, just shopping around, just looking who's going to be the cheapest, who can get me to train at the cheapest cost.
Absolutely.
And then that's who I'm going to go with. But if you come in and you become that consultant, you can still sell that more expensive system that's going to best help the prospect and get the deal, rather than getting 20% of your deals closed. And
Absolutely.
maybe some of the organizations are happy with that, but I feel like
50% of the problem lies with the sales manager, because the sales manager has 3 jobs. The first one is to guide their salespeople, and you guide with data. Okay, so meaning, who is really your customer? You've spent a lot of quotes times with these 20, 30 customers. Forget about those. Those are not really customers. Let's concentrate on these. So this is how you guide. Okay. Second, you need to control your salespeople. How do you control? You make sure they're doing sales activities, not with a goal. Our goal this month is to sell $1 million. Go ahead, do whatever you need to do, and we'll talk about it at the end of the month. That's not the way it's done. You need to make sure they're doing sales activities. What is the number one sales activity that any salesman should be doing? Calling, talking to their customers. Talking to their customers takes care of all the other important sales activities. Second, you need to quote. Third, you need to follow up on the quotes. That is a sales activity. So those salespeople that have the most sales activities will have the most amount of sales at the end of the month. So what you need to do is to track the sales activities, and the results will take care of themselves. And the third thing that a manager should do is to coach their salespeople. Hey, Guy, how do you feel about what you're doing? What do you think you can improve? And you do that with questions. You don't coach by telling, you coach by asking. You want to draw it out of them. It has been proven. The Harvard Business Review has published a study that they did. When you tell a salesperson what they need to do, it is counterproductive to their performance. They actually feel bad and they don't do it. But when you get it out of them with questions, hey, Donald, what do you think that you need to improve on? What is it that you don't feel right? How can I help you? What is some of the tools that I can give you to make your performance better? If you do that with questions, you're going to coach better and your people will improve better. It has been proven. So those are the 3 things. So now, if the sales manager doesn't do any of that, he just says, oh, you're really busy, Donald. My God, you're sending 158,000 quotes. Great. I'm going to tell you a real story. You're going to laugh about this.
Yeah.
So one sales manager sees a new salesperson really busy all the time and sending a bunch of quotes, but he's closing almost 0%. And he goes at the end of the month, hey man, I've seen you really busy. I don't understand what's going on. He says, man, I'm sure I'm going to do really well. I'm sending a bunch of quotes. I'm quoting more than anybody else. He says, well, just let me look at your quotes. So he goes in and starts looking. and he sees a customer repeat itself over and over and over and over. He says, who's this customer? I never heard of him before. Oh my God, that's my best customer. I've sent him about 50 quotes this month. Okay, yeah, let me give him a call. Let's see. And remember, this is for an air conditioning business, right? So they're calling.
Oh my goodness.
They're calling and they're going, all right, one of my salespeople has sent you over 50 quotes. And I wonder what's going on. What are you guys doing with all these quotes? And he says, well, we actually don't buy air conditioning. We determine the value of a building. And when they have air conditioning, we call you guys so you can tell us how much the air conditioning is so we can determine the value of the building. So after he said everything about this guy's moms and family and everything else, he hung up and said, please don't call my salespeople again. So this salesperson was totally out of whack because he thought that he was calling a real customer. He never found out. He never took the time to really understand, is this guy a real customer or not? And then the sales manager just left him alone because he felt that he was busy. And if it wasn't for the closing ratio, he would have never guided him the right way. So does that make sense?
Oh my goodness, I'm over here can't believe this.
Real story.
Dude probably thought he was hot stuff.
Absolutely.
Doing such a great job. And obviously it turns out this was obviously an extreme situation, but I imagine there's a lot of examples like this that may be buried underneath it, like where you assume whether you assume the buyer knows is going to reach out to you, or you assume the buyer has that they are whatever, for whatever reason or another, the salesperson may just assume something, and because of that assumption, it caused them to make wrong decisions and
Absolutely.
then to behave poorly.
And the same thing for the sales manager. When we tell them that we need to use data, we need to use Pareto analysis, it's the toughest thing for a salesperson to see that they're going from 350 clients to 100.
Yeah.
And I show the sales manager the data. Look, this is your own data. And they see that 40 clients make up 80% of their sales. And if they pay 60, it's 100% of the sales. And I'm saying, look, I'm still going to be benevolent. I'm going to give you 100. But we need to come down from the 350 because you're spending time. Your salesperson, the only thing that they have is time. So instead of calling the right customer, they're calling the wrong customer 30, 40% of the time. So if we reduce that time, we're going to make them more money. Exactly what you said. Instead of closing 20%, now we can close 30, 40%. And it takes ages for the salesperson to really grow accustomed to saying 350 to 100 because they think that every customer is the same and only the customers that pay are the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. Here's what I'd like to ask. In the last few minutes that we have here, I want to talk about what are some ways that I can follow up without being a pest? 5 follow-ups seems like it'll be kind of silly to say just following up 5 times. What can I say? What are some ideas that I can implement?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is when the customer requests a quote, it gives you the right to follow up. I want everybody to understand that. When he requested that you do your job and get them a proposal, they gave you the right to follow up. Now, when I say follow up at least 5 times to get 88% of the business, it doesn't mean that every time you call, you're going to find them, right? So you could call the second time and he wasn't there, you left a message, or you had to send a text, or you had to send an email, whatever it was. So following up doesn't mean that you're really going to talk to them. But second is you never leave a quote without asking when do they expect to have a decision, because that's when you're going to get permission from them to call them back at XYZ date. Oh, okay, so you're going to make up your mind on Wednesday. Is it okay if I call you Thursday morning or afternoon? Yeah, call me back Thursday morning. So now they just gave you permission to call them on Thursday morning. And for whatever reason you don't find them on Thursday morning, you leave a message. Hey, Donald, this is Guy. I promised that I would call you today. You told me that I should follow up with you today in the morning, and I haven't heard back. If for whatever reason you don't call me back by tomorrow, Friday, right? I will call you Tuesday in the afternoon. So now in the message that you provide, you're going to let them know that if for whatever reason you don't get back to me, I will get back to you. Okay? I'm not going to stop just because I couldn't find you. Okay? So that also makes it a lot more palatable, easier for them to accept that, hey, this guy is a professional. He promised that he would follow up and he's going to do it. Okay?
Yeah. I like it. I think the first part there, that obligation, understanding what's in that contract, because you said this, it's because you said this, or you did this, part of the process. It's natural. That's a natural byproduct. You're going to get a follow up from it. And then I also like the idea of not assuming, but asking and letting them know, giving them a game plan of what you're going to do.
Absolutely. Getting their permission. They told you, hey, Donald, it's fine. Call me Thursday morning. They gave you permission already. So you're not doing anything intrusive. And that also is important for the psyche of the salesperson. Remember, a lot of them said, hey, if they really like it, they call me back. And a way for them to feel that is because they feel that they're a pest. But now if the customer said, hey, Donald, you can call me back on Thursday morning. Hey, I'm free.
Yeah. I love it. This is great. Brilliant stuff. Guy, if people are out there wanting to, they want to learn from you. They want to get connected. They want to ask further questions. I believe you even have a book, right?
Absolutely,
around
yes.
some sales strategies.
I do have a book on recurrent sales, #1 on Amazon right now, and it's called Money Call. You can read it real quickly because it's about 100 pages. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, and I think that if anybody has any ideas or they read the book and they want to talk about something that they have implemented, because in the end, my job with the book is to have people implement the ideas in the money call system, which is to be proactive instead of reactive in a recurrent sale business. So many of our members from our association, they tell me, look, we just take orders. People call us and we fulfill the orders. We don't do things in reverse. We never call our customers. And one of the reasons is we don't have the right structure. You have 2 people picking up the phone, but you have 1,500 customers in that location. You have too many customers that are calling just to get quotes. You need to reverse the thing and need to study which are your, after your 20% of your customers, that 21% to 30%, those are really hot spots because they don't remember you all the time. They're calling the competition first. They call you second when the competition doesn't have anything. So you want to turn it around in a recurrent sale business to make sure that we are proactive, making sure that we turn those customers into primary customers to our business. And we have had success all over Latin America with that. Some companies in the US are implementing it as well as we speak. And it's been really, really good. And we hope that we continue with that. So Money Call is on Amazon. We'd love to talk about it on LinkedIn if you want to.
Love it, man. Well, Guy, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure, Donald. Great to see you.
I'm telling you, if you haven't done so, go to LinkedIn, connect with Guy. We have his information down in the show notes. Specifically, make sure to connect with Guy. Tell him that you heard him here on the Sales Evangelist podcast. We have his information down in the show notes. But I want you to make sure to check out his book as well. We have a link to it, Money Call. Like there's money opportunities out there. Opportunities there. It's not like it's not. It's hiding from you. It's a matter of us going after the right people with the right messaging and being consistent at it. It's amazing what can happen from doing that. I've done that and I've seen great success from it. All you got to do is just do it. So I want you to check it out. Find all the details in the show notes. If you're interested, check out our LinkedIn prospecting course. We have an amazing group starting LinkedIn prospecting. It's an opportunity for you to be able to learn how to build pipeline through LinkedIn. Check it out. Find all the details in the show notes. As always, I want you to thrive and succeed. I want you to find the right people. I want you to connect with them. I want you to make some money. Most importantly, I want you to follow up, raise your level of thinking, and go out and do big things. I'll see you on the next one.